Oki nistu anago bigsibidaki. Hi, everybody. It's me, your host, Andrea Truejoy Fox, for Talks with the Fox podcast. Today's episode, I am going to be sharing with you some things that I have learned in my journey as a post-secondary student when I was completing my Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Education degrees once upon a time ago. What I want to share with you, especially today, are some things that I think would be helpful if you perhaps are someone who is starting your post-secondary journey, or maybe you are helping someone else prepare for their post-secondary journey, such as your students or your children, or even yourself. And so I thought I would share this knowledge and these experiences that I accumulated along the way when I was in school as an undergraduate student. And right now I am a graduate student, and there are some things that I have been learning along the way in this new chapter of my, I guess you could say, part 2 to being a student in post-secondary. Anyways, that's a story for another time. So today, as I mentioned, I want to share some things with you that I had learned along the way. First of all, to give you some context, I had graduated from high school when I was 17 years old, pretty much a baby, if you will. What do we know when we are 17 or 18 or even 20? We are new, and our experiences in the world are only just beginning. I had a conversation with my parents. We talked about what my options would be. Originally, I had plans, my goals throughout high school. Well, really, since I was in junior high, I always envisioned myself going to university and studying to either become a teacher like my mom or a social worker like my dad. Fast forward to graduation from high school, and I wasn't quite sure if those were the paths that I wanted to take. And I also knew that I was really young. I guess you could say I just wasn't ready for university at that time. I mean, like I say, who is really ready for post-secondary at the tender age of 17? What did I know? Anyways, so I talked to my parents, and we came to the decision together that going to the college would be a good start, a good way for me to start my post-secondary journey. And in college, I could take some general studies and figure out what it was that I wanted to take. So that's what I did. Boy, oh boy, was that ever an adventure. I had met so many incredible people of different ages. I still didn't know what it was that I wanted to take when I made the transition to university, but I was having a great time because it was quite a different place than high school. And if anything, that's something that I always would tell my students when I was teaching middle school and high school. I would tell them, you know what? High school is temporary. High school is like your stepping stone into another realm, another exciting world, and a different way of learning, because there are different responsibilities that you acquire, and you will meet so many people. I mean, if you are having issues with friends, or you're struggling with some things in your life as you figure yourself out as a young adolescent, well, as you move through college and university, those things start to become resolved because you start to come into your own as you grow up, and you meet all sorts of people. So I remember I had people who were all different ages. Some of my friends were already in their 20s, some were even in their 30s, and we connected for various reasons. And I'm really glad that I did start in college, and I was able to take all sorts of classes. I took psychology, history, design, art. There was a whole different realm of classes that I took that I just found interesting and that I knew would help point me in the direction that I wanted to go in when I got to university. And so eventually I completed my courses. I had taken the courses that I needed to transfer to university that would allow me to get into my program. By this time, I was 18 and turning 19, and I had 2 years of college under my belt, and I started to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And that was originally my plan, to be a teacher. I had grown up watching my mom just share her love of learning and teaching children and youth, and that inspired me. I spent a lot of time in her classroom. She was a Blackfoot language immersion teacher and just an incredibly gifted, passionate teacher. And she had a really wonderful way with working with all different students of different backgrounds. And that inspired me. And just being around people, I'm someone who loves to work with people, and decided, okay, I think I'm going to prepare myself to be a teacher. I love learning. I didn't always enjoy school, but I love to learn. I still am very much a curious person. And I love being in environments where people want to learn and people enjoy doing what they do. So I entered into the Faculty of Education. And from there, I met some really incredible professors who immediately were supportive of me and who, knowing that I was Indigenous, were interested in learning about my culture. And I believe that they saw me more than just a number, if you will. When you have a lot of students, or when you're a student attending classes and there's a large number of students, sometimes it can feel like you're just a number, right? But these professors actually took time to get to know the students. And this helped me feel really supported, and it was encouraging. And it made me actually, for the first time in my life, really love school. And so I looked forward to going to my classes. I guess you could say this experience, or this introduction to my new journey of taking on my teaching program, my BA and BEd. It was a combined degree program. It had given me a lot of meaning. It started to feel like my post-secondary had a new kind of meaning to me, because I was connecting with different people. I connected with other students. The different types of learning activities they had us do to help us become the best teachers that we could become were really valuable. It focused on relationships, on connection, on communication. And I'll tell you this, I was super shy in school, even right up through high school. I definitely didn't like it when the teacher asked me questions, or if I felt like I was put on the spot back in high school. So, that didn't leave me immediately in college, but through time, the more we do something and the more we step out of our comfort zones, and especially when we are in a safe and caring learning environment as students, that can really help push our growth and enhance our communication skills. So that's what happened. My communication skills really became stronger. When I used to see them more as a weakness, they started to become my strength. I started to raise my hand more in my university classes, and I started to speak up and share my perspectives and vocalize my knowledge, and also my ways of knowing as a Nitsitabiaki, as a Blackfoot woman and student. And so this was quite an interesting part of my education. I got excited about learning again, and I started to really feel affirmed in my decision to become a teacher. And then things started to make sense to me. I had a plan now. I knew what I wanted to study. I knew what I wanted to take when I became a teacher. I knew what I wanted to be when I graduated from university. All of those experiences were also very valuable. But what I will say is that it did not happen overnight. And that's where I'm going to share some tidbits here along the way with you that helped me, and things that I learned throughout the journey, and also after, as I look back and reflect on being a post-secondary undergraduate student. So here's the first thing I want to share with you, okay? Number one, please remember this. You will survive. University or college or trade school, whatever type of post-secondary education you're taking or thinking of taking, just remember that. There will be a lot of tough moments. There will be a lot of uncomfortable moments as you learn, as you figure things out, and as you discover how you learn, because that's a whole other thing. Is I always would tell my elementary, middle school, and high school students, if you can discover how you learn best, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself as a student. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 5 years old, you could be 45 years old and discovering this, but it's very useful and helpful, and it's a gift. So when you can learn how you learn best, you can then direct your own learning journey. You can also direct those who are teaching you. You can tell them, you know what, this is how I learn best. So keep that in mind here. Anyways, going back to the number one thing I want you to remember is, remember, you will survive and you will thrive. There will be moments of doubt. There will be moments of questioning. Is this the right class for me? Did I make a mistake? Am I cut out for this? And then there will be moments where you are just feeling how important it is that you are there in that class, taking that class, and working hard to achieve the goals that you set for yourself. Okay, number 2, you will fail. Kind of obvious, isn't it? We always fail. We fail at so many things in life, it's not even funny. But through failure, we learn. I always learn through my failures. Sometimes they're embarrassing. Sometimes they're things that I don't want, anyone to know about. Or sometimes I'm just like hard on myself and I say, okay, wow, I thought I had it, but okay, maybe not. But then you go back, you try again, you figure it out, you learn, you talk it through with others, find some mentors, people who you can bounce your ideas off of, people you can just take that filter off, bring the walls down and just be fully real and authentic with, and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm struggling in this area. I recognize that this is something you have a lot of strengths in or knowledge or experience in. Is there any advice you can give me? And of course, just be okay with that. Be okay with failing and be okay, because you can believe in yourself, and we learn through failure. We grow through failure. Okay. If it were easy, then what would be the point? I always think that's kind of my philosophy on life, really, is it's not meant to be easy. It's meant for us to learn, fail, grow, and share what we've learned. Number 2, you will fail. Number 3, you will be okay. I think I already said that through the first 2, but really, you will be okay. It's all part of the journey. Number 4, it is more than okay not to have everything figured out. Okay? Do you remember what I just talked about at the very beginning of this episode? I had all these ideas, I had some plans, or I didn't have some plans, and I thought I was going to go straight into university right after high school. Well, that didn't happen. And I had all sorts of ideas about how things would go. Well, quite often in life is our greatest teacher. Our plans don't always come out the way we think they will come out. So it's okay if you don't have everything figured out. Brainstorm, consider, be open to new ideas and be open to new possibilities. Sometimes people might label you as this type of student learner, or sometimes people might think they know what's best for you. But really, at the end of the day, you know what's best for you. You know what you need and you know what you want in life. As you figure that out, things will come together. So it's okay to not have everything figured out right away. It takes time, okay? Even with life, I think we're all still figuring this place called life out. Okay, the next one, number 5. It is okay to change your major or your program, if you will, okay? If you are in your first year and you thought you wanted to go and be an engineer, and suddenly you get through your first semester and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I want. I actually don't see myself doing this. That's okay. I always say give something a chance to prove to yourself really that, you know what, this is just not what I want. But also it doesn't necessarily mean that putting yourself through the mill to finally figure out that wasn't what you wanted to do after all. Okay. So it's okay to change your program if after your first semester, after even maybe 3 years. I'll tell you a little story here. I had a friend that I went to university with, and this friend of mine completed the teaching program, graduated, and had plans to be a teacher. But then she discovered that, you know what, teaching is just not for me. I don't want to be a teacher. I mean, how many dollars later in tuition and 5 years later, because the program we went through is a 5-year program, and then only for her to discover that that was not what she wanted to do. She, in fact, wanted to start her own business and relocate to another province in another city. And she did just that. And she went on to be very successful in running her own technology business. So it's also okay if you come out of your program and you decide that's not for me, or this is not what I'm passionate about, or I just know I'm not going to enjoy this, especially being a teacher. Because I'm going to tell you, if you go into being a teacher and you are miserable, those students are going to be 10 times more miserable because you're not enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, they're not enjoying it. Okay. Next one here, number 6, network with people in your program, okay? Get out of your shell, stop being shy, okay? It won't kill you to talk to somebody you don't know, okay? Get to know the people in your program. I can tell you this from experience because, like I said, I wasn't the most outgoing person immediately in my first years of post-secondary. It took time and it took a lot of self-talk and just stepping out of my comfort zone and saying yes more than saying no to opportunities or invites to attend gatherings or try something new or join a club. And I will tell you this, I actually ended up remaining friends with several people that were in my teaching program. Some, in fact, went on to become future colleagues with me or people that I still network with and connect with professionally and even in friendship. You just never know who you may meet, and you just never know what kind of doors may open with meeting new people, okay, personally and professionally. Okay, the next one, number 7, it is okay to step back and to hit pause and restart, okay? So if you find that you are overwhelmed, maybe you are working 2 part-time jobs, or you have other things happening in your life, because life happens, right? As we know, life doesn't stop just because we focus on one area of our life. Life continues on for all areas of our lives. Sometimes we have things that happen in our personal life, like the loss of a loved one, or a change in financial situations, or things that can feel overwhelming. Or just maybe right now you're just not focused and you know yourself well. We know ourselves very well. And you just know that right now studying, I just can't make it a priority. Therefore, I don't want to waste my tuition, or I don't want to have this affect my transcript. So maybe right now I just need to hit pause and step back. Okay. I had a devastating situation happen in my life, right? In the last semester of my education degree. And I was so determined though. I was thinking, you know what? I had plans to graduate by this year. I was supposed to be done so I could start teaching. And like I say, we make plans, and quite often life teaches us that not all plans go as planned, because Creator has our plans. At the end of the day, Creator decides when we will do certain things or if we will do certain things. At that time in my life, I'm really glad that I took time to step back and say, okay, I'm not leaving school, but I'm just going to hit pause on this semester. I'm going to take a leave of absence so I can work through what I'm working through right now, my personal life. And then I went back the following semester and I was focused and back on track, if you will. So it's okay to step back. It's okay to hit pause, and it's okay to restart. Okay. All right, the next one here. Not everything will go as planned, and be okay with that. And it is okay. So I think I've just kind of touched on this one a lot already. Timelines. Indian time, as I've been taught by my elders, is not about showing up when you feel like showing up, not being tardy and just saying, I'm going to show up when I feel like it. No, it's really about Creator directing us through the process. If we have plans to be somewhere, but somehow, some way, we got detoured, some things came up that took our time away, that were out of our control, and then we showed up later than we had planned to, that's okay. Sometimes we'll never know why certain things happened the way they did, but it's okay, and you just embrace that. And more importantly, these days I am being more mindful of and reminding myself that, okay, for some reason I wasn't meant to attend this meeting, or for some reason I wasn't meant to go take this route to where I was traveling to. There was a detour, so I had to go another route, which took a longer time for me, and now I'm going to be late, or now I won't even make it to where I'm supposed to be. But through time, as I get older, I've just come to accept that, okay, that's the process. I'll embrace it. I'll go with it. I may feel disappointed that things didn't go as planned, but I'm also grateful that I know and believe that Creator is always looking out for me. Not everything will go as planned, and be okay with that. Okay, the next one, communication. Communicate with your professors. Talk to them. If you anticipate or there's something that's come up in your personal life and it's going to affect you with meeting a certain deadline, talk to your professors beforehand. Try not to wait until the 11th hour, because when you do that, it puts more stress on you than you're probably already going through as you work through whatever it is that's going to cause a delay in your meeting your deadline. But it also gives them a heads up. And trust me, as a teacher, we always appreciate getting a heads up. I would always appreciate it when a student would tell me beforehand, my family and I, we have to travel here, so I'm going to be away for 3 days, for example. I really appreciated that because it allowed me to plan for them, not only for the rest of the class, but also to keep them in mind. So communication is key. And it also helps your professors to have that open communication. It allows them to see that you are being responsible and they will work with you. I will tell you this, most of them are more than willing to work with you because, like I said, life happens. There are things that happen that are out of our control. And on that note, remember, they are human too. Communicate with your professors. It's important and necessary. The next one here, take this time to learn. So this time that you have carved out in your life to attend school, even if it's part-time or you're starting off with one class or you've just started a full class load, course load, semester, take this time to learn. Enjoy this moment in your life, this time and moment in your life, and take advantage of this opportunity that you have been given to learn. And to not only learn what you're learning, like the curriculum I'm talking about here, but also to learn about yourself, to learn about life, to learn about people, and soak up the knowledge, soak up these lived experiences. And remember that school is part of your learning journey, but it's not your be-all, end-all either, because this learning time doesn't necessarily only speak to learning inside a classroom, or learning inside an institution. Your learning is taking place every day. Really, every day that you walk this earth, our learning takes place. While you are given this time, though, to focus on specifically learning through academia or learning in your trades or college, whatever program you're in, take advantage of it. It's going to be a very helpful tool for you in your future. And as they say, education is our buffalo for all of our Indigenous students listening out there. Okay, the next one here. Education will mean something different to everyone, okay? So while you're having your experience, you may even be in class with one of your best friends. If you're fortunate enough to take the same program or be in some classes together, just remember that their experience and your experience and all the other students in your program are all having, while you are sharing a similar experience of just being in that class, you are also all having your own experiences individually. We all respond to learning in a different way because we are all different in how we learn, in who we are, what our value systems and beliefs are. Appreciate that uniqueness and appreciate the differences there. And in fact, be open to learning from others. Just because they may not necessarily share the same background as you or lived experiences, be open to learning from others and appreciate that education will mean something and be something different to everyone. Okay, the next one here. Apply for scholarships. I cannot stress this enough, okay? Scholarships, oh my gosh. I don't even want to think of the many scholarships that I missed out on when I didn't apply for them, okay? It wasn't until probably my second year in university that I started to apply for scholarships. In fact, I want to say this, that there are so many multi-millions of dollars out there that go unclaimed when post-secondary students don't apply for those scholarships. Many reasons for that being students think, you know what? I don't have the best grades, therefore, who's going to pick my application out of who knows how many and pick mine over someone who probably has flying colors in all their classes? Try not to think that way. Put your name in the hat, okay? Throw your name in the hat there for scholarships. Apply for them. In fact, you may be the only person that is applying for that scholarship. I'll give you a prime example of that. There was an amazing art scholarship, and I heard about it, but I just thought, you know what? I'm just new into my program. I'm trying to make sure that I have really good grades. So when I think my grades are where they should be at, that are good enough to apply for a scholarship, then I'll apply for a scholarship. No, that was not a great way to think at the time. And I'm very thankful that one of my professors actually thought of me and said, hey, you know what? Did you hear about this one scholarship? Nobody has applied for it in 5 years, and that money is still sitting there. And I can tell you, nobody will probably apply for it again this year. So, you know what? If you apply for it, it's practically yours. And this, I can tell you, I think it was for like $5,000. Oh my gosh. For a university student, that is gold. So I applied for it, and lo and behold, I was the successful only applicant. But you know what? That wasn't the only scholarship I applied for. After that, I just started applying for as many scholarships that were applicable to my program, regardless of if I thought I was doing good in my classes or if I knew I could do better with my grades. I just kept applying, and I received several scholarships. And that feeling when you receive that letter that says, congratulations, you are the successful recipient of the De Grand Maison Scholarship for Art Students, or the Jason Lang Scholarship, or the Dr. Helen Manyfingers Scholarship. I mean, those are just a few of the scholarships that I, hand to heart with gratitude, was the successful recipient of. And that money helped me. It helped me pay my rent. It helped me with my groceries. I mean, I had a part-time job while I was in university as well, but this really helped too. It helped me to sustain myself. So I'm going to just encourage you, regardless of where you think you're at in your program, or if you don't think your grades are where they can or should, or where you plan to get them to be, just apply anyways, okay? And you will get a scholarship. You will. You just have to keep trying and applying. And also be okay with rejection too, okay? That's part of this teaching tidbit here on applying for scholarships. Applying for scholarships teaches you many things, okay? A side note here. It teaches you how to write a letter that is going to persuade somebody to say, you know what, pick me. These are the reasons why I deserve this. And as students, while you're in your program and you're learning, becoming your own best advocate is another great gift you can give yourself. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, but just part of this whole, while we're on this apply for scholarships tidbit, it teaches you how to write a formal letter. It teaches you how to advocate for yourself. And then you also quite often have to ask 2 to 3 people to write letters of support for your application. So usually those are people that are teaching you, or someone you've worked for, or somebody who's working in the profession that you're studying for. And I'll tell you this, when you read those letters that people write for you in support of your application, it is so incredible, because you actually get to stop and reflect and say, wow, this is how this person sees me. Sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves as students, but when you read those letters, I always found them to be really encouraging, and they gave me that extra motivation and boost to say, wow, these people believe in me. You know what? I better just stop doubting myself in this moment and go after these scholarships. So apply for those scholarships. Okay, the next teaching tidbit here is discover what your relationship is to money, okay? Learn about how to budget. Budgeting is everything, okay? You need to be able to pay your bills. You need to be able to put food on your table. And if you have a family, you have to factor that in. There's all sorts of variables when it comes to learning how and why it is important to budget, okay? Money management is very key. I really enjoy teaching. When I taught a wellness class to some middle school students, I just love teaching them about money management and financial literacy. In fact, this is something that I know all students can benefit from, and I think it's a great tool to start learning about while you're in middle school for starters. Even elementary, start teaching your children, or if you're a teacher listening, really start teaching those students and nurturing their relationship to and understandings around financial literacy. That is a great gift and tool you can give them or to yourself, and really explore what that is. Check where your areas of weakness are, where your areas of strength are. Doing this can really help you. It's a really great life skill and tool to have, whether you're a university student or not. Everybody benefits from having financial literacy and strong money management skills, okay? All right. Next one here is be your own best friend, be your own best cheerleader, and be your own best advocate, okay? It's great to have a circle of support, and believe me, those circles of support are important, and they are also crucial to people's success. It's amazing when we have supports that we can lean into. However, that being said, learn to pick yourself up when you're feeling down. Learn to self-talk and self-reflect and get real with yourself. Identify the areas that you're just kind of dropping the ball in on yourself, and have that real talk with yourself, and then give yourself some good boosts and a lot of self-love and kindness, and cheer yourself on and tell yourself, I know we can do it today. We're going to do it. I'm going to class. I'm going to do the best I can do. Today, I'm going to ask a question if there's an opportunity to ask questions. Or today, I'm going to talk to someone in my class. Maybe there's an area that you're struggling in, and maybe you're going to see if there's a study group. Set those mini goals for the day. Maybe it's one goal you set for the day. By doing that, you're setting yourself up for success, and cheer yourself on, okay? We can really be so hard on ourselves, like I say, as human beings and as students, post-secondary students speaking specifically. We can set some goals for ourselves, and when we go through failure or we don't quite hit the mark where we were aiming for, it can be easy to just kind of go into a little spiral or start being down on yourself or getting depressed. But really, just cheer yourself on, pick yourself up, and start all over again. Dust yourself off too while you're at it. And then advocate for yourself, okay? That takes me to the next one here. Advocate for yourself, okay? If you feel like you were not treated right or treated fairly, speak up. Speak up when something is not right, okay? Whether it's an encounter you have with a professor, or it's how something is being taught in class, or other students, maybe somebody said something culturally insensitive or ignorant. Speak up. I'll give you an example here. Remember how I told you that I was shy, and in my first years, especially of university, and it was not the most comforting thing to be the first person to speak up, if you will, but I did anyways, and I'm glad that I did. So a little story here. I remember I was taking, I believe it was a sociology class in my education degree, and we had discussed residential schools. Well, the professors introduced it and started talking about this. And keep in mind, this was somewhere in the year of 2008, I believe, or 2007. And our professor had showed us a film about residential school survivors sharing the horrible things that they encountered in residential school. And it was actually really sad. And I had some tears there as I sat there in the dark watching the film. And afterwards, we had a discussion. And I remember there was one student. She was someone who always usually spoke up and shared her thoughts on things. And this time around, she spoke up. She made a remark, something along the lines of, why can't they just get over it? And I'm not kidding. We hear how that is just something that you don't say. And that is what she said. She was trying to be polite the way she said it, but it was still wrong what she said. And that didn't make it right, despite her trying to word it in a polite way. It was a strong statement when she pondered out loud, and there were several other statements that she made. And as soon as she said that, though, my heartbeat started beating really fast, and I started to feel really warm inside. And I could feel my face go red. And I felt shocked, I guess, that she had said this, because we were in a program for teachers where we're supposed to be open-minded. We're supposed to look at things from all angles, or at least that's what I believed. And I had to just take a moment, and we were sitting at tables. And I remember the people sitting at my table all kind of looked at me because I was the only Indigenous student in this particular class. And it's almost like they were like, okay, Andrea, we know that what she said was wrong, and now we know, or we are expecting you to respond to that. And part of me, because of how angry I felt, and I felt really hurt, like it stung me, I just wanted to walk out of the class, or I just wanted to not say anything, because I was afraid that if words came out of my mouth, it wouldn't be the most polite words, if you will. But the way my parents raised me and the elders was to think before I speak, even if I'm feeling angry or emotional. And it really took a lot of composure from me. And I just took a deep breath. And when she was done talking, I looked at my professor and just raised my hands, so he knew that I wanted to speak. And I don't remember exactly what I said. It's funny, I remember what she said, but I don't remember what I said. I just took a deep breath before I spoke. I spoke loud, but I spoke calm. And I spoke with confidence, because I knew what she said was wrong. And I remember one of the remarks, though, that I did make was something to do with, well, she was talking about all these other countries that had faced hardships. That was also part of her statement. Like, in other words, they've been able to get over it, and they've been able to thrive, and so on. And one of the things I said was, well, they still have their countries. They still have their language. They still do have their cultures. At the end of the day, Nitsitapi, the Indigenous First Nations people of Canada, we were displaced on reserves. This country we call Canada, we don't even get to call it our own, if you will, in the sense of all these other nations that she mentioned outside of North America, how they've been able to preserve their language and cultures despite their political tensions and inequities that are happening. At the end of the day, this is Canada. The name of this place has been renamed, and we were put on reservations and placed in residential schools. And then I was done speaking. And a lot of my classmates looked at me and nodded. I think some of them even clapped after what I said. And my professor, then he responded after I spoke. And he just said, everything Andrea said is the truth. And we have to be careful of the statements that we make. And we have to not speak with ignorance. And I'm glad that I spoke up. I'm glad that I was able to advocate for myself in that moment, and for my people, for my histories, for the Nitsitapi of Canada. Be your own best advocate. No one can speak best for you other than you. Okay? We are our own best speakers. If you want to speak up for something, speak up for it. That's a teaching that I had shared with my students in middle school and high school. Okay, going on to the next teaching tidbit here to help you survive, prepare, enjoy, and succeed in post-secondary education, your journey there. Just remember, it's all temporary, okay? The long nights, the studying, the writing of papers, the researching, the hours in the library, time away from family, time away from friends, moments where you're by yourself and you may feel isolated, the struggles, the challenges that we go through to get through so we can successfully graduate. Just remember, it's all temporary. This is but a moment, and it doesn't last forever. You will get through it, and you will move on in your journey of life, okay? And it will be worth it. I want to throw that in there. It will be worth it when you cross that stage and you collect your degrees, your papers, and you graduate, okay? All right, next, as I get ready to conclude this episode, I'm going to run a few more tidbits by. Take time to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with yourself, whatever that looks like, because that will look different for each of us, okay? The next one, do something nice for yourself every now and then, okay? Just do something nice for yourself. It doesn't have to be a big grandiose gesture. It could just be something that only you know that you did for yourself or whatever, but just do something nice for yourself every now and then. It's important we are kind to ourselves, okay? And especially when we are out there in the world on a journey. And speaking to Indigenous students here, it's not an easy journey and it's difficult. And sometimes it feels like we're the only one in that classroom, or we are the only one in that program, or we wonder, hey, where are my supports? But trust me, that's where being kind to ourselves is so important, and remembering how strong you are, okay? All right, this other one here that I'm going to share with you, you're never too old, okay? Just remember that. When I was 17 years old, or you're never too young, but when I was 17 in college, I took a Canadian history class, and sitting next to me was a senior citizen. This gentleman, he was in our class, and for a moment there I was a little confused. I thought, is he part of the teaching faculty? And I'm sitting next to a senior citizen wondering what he's doing there. And through class time and hearing from him as he spoke up in class a lot, because trust me, it was cool having him in that particular class because it was a history class and he would share different things every now and then on events that happened history. He was a student. And I would see him around the college going into different classes. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it opened my eyes up to just remembering that we're never too old to go to school and to learn. And as our elders teach us and remind us, they're always learning. That's what they teach us. That's what I grew up learning from them, was that as long as we walk this earth, we are meant to learn. So anyways, you're never too old to start something, okay? In this case, school, okay? Or too young. And this one here, be proud of yourself, okay? Be proud of everything that you came through to get to where you are, okay? Every step that you took, every moment, every challenge, everything that you came through to get to where you are right now, whether you're in class, whether you are in your last semester, or whether you were at the beginning, or whether you are contemplating starting school or what program you want to take. Be proud of yourself because you deserve to be where you are, okay? And you are going to be amazing, and you have every ancestor beside you walking with you, supporting you, okay? So be proud of yourself. And lastly, the last tidbit I want to share with you, teaching moment here, enjoy the journey. Don't forget to enjoy the journey, okay? Trust yourself, trust the journey, believe in yourself. You are not alone and you can do it. And most of all, enjoy the journey, okay? The ups and the downs and everything in between, because one day you will look back and you will smile and you will laugh and maybe you will cry and you will celebrate and you will remember, wow, I did that. I came through that. So anyways, those are some things that I wanted to share with you, whoever is listening to this, because like I said, maybe you are a teacher and you're helping prepare your students for their futures as they contemplate post-secondary school. Or maybe you are a student who is in school right now, or you are just beginning your post-secondary education journey. It is my hope that what I shared with you today, you will find some value in, and it will be helpful to you in some way or another, or that you can share it with someone else too who's on this journey. Because being a post-secondary student is quite an adventure, and there's so much to learn, and there's so much you will learn about yourself, about life, about others, and about learning. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know. Share with me where you're at in your journey. I love hearing from my listeners. I really appreciate when people reach out to me and share what they enjoyed about the episode or something that connected or resonated with them in their own journey. So do share with me, and I would love to hear from you. On that note, just a little something for you to think about or plan for. I will be doing a part 2 to this, but that won't be until the new year in season 2. And that will be graduate me. So this was undergrad me that you got to hear from. And then I will be doing one for those who have come back to school and are in the next chapter, the next phase of being a student who is taking their master's, because that is another story for another time and another set of lessons and an adventure. Okay, so anyways, I hope you have a beautiful, blessed day and that you just embrace the journey that you're on wherever you are. Maybe you've already completed school or you are contemplating. And like I said earlier, just enjoy it all, reflect on it, and share what you have learned with others, because that's a great way to learn, is by sharing what we are learning and what we have learned with others. And we never know who we are helping along the way just by sharing our stories. Until we meet again, Gadakiramatsin.